Alright, hello. I am back with another Enfield video. So, if you've seen on my channel my recent video, it was a rant. Um, it had some informative information in it, but it was definitely structured in the form of a rant. So this video is going to be a guide on how to play what I believe to be the not only the optimal physical team in the game at the moment, I believe to be the best team in the game at the moment. So we're going to look at the team, and I'm going to go through each character, briefly explain the idea behind the character, and then I will talk about their gear and their stats. This video is going to be slightly different. Obviously, if you see in this video, congratulations, like you found the depths of YouTube. There are going to be guides on YouTube that are going to provide more baseline level of information. This is a guide for someone who has played the game already and understands how to play the game and understands the mechanics of the game. I'm not talking like in-depth mechanics. I'm just not going to be holding your hand through this video. This is going to be, I guess, a more advanced video because in effect I am explaining why this is the best team to play right now. So, first things first, the team itself. I believe the best version of this team is the Administrator as the main DPS, and then 3 support DPS. So you have Chen, Pogranichnik, and Li Feng. I will explain why each of these characters, in my opinion, is the most optimal, and then I will, at the end of the video, explain who some substitutes can be. Please note, I will only be including one substitute. So the purpose of this video, you must play 3 of these 4 characters. Which 3 is up to you. However, you must play at least 3 of them. I will not be including substitutes for 2. So, for example, I will not be saying you can play Administrator, Chen, Akakuri, and Ardelia. It will be Administrator, Chen, Pogranichnik, and then Ardelia. I will only be allowing 1 substitution. If you are doing 2 substitutions, you are playing the team wrong. So, with that being said, let's start with the Administrator. So the Administrator's role in this team is not to apply vulnerability stacks, it is to consume vulnerability stacks. If we look at her skills, her battle skill deals physical damage and applies crush, which means it consumes vulnerability stacks. What we will be trying to do with her is to apply as many vulnerability stacks as we can and then consume them with her battle skill. Very straightforward, very simple. Next, her combo trigger. Now, I am going to talk about this because it's not basic. It's actually relevant to the combo. Sorry, the structure of the team. So you'll see it deals physical damage and attach Originium crystals that temporarily seal them. We're not going to care about the temporary seal because it doesn't work on bosses. It only works on overworld mobs. And then, if you see here, it says applies physical status or vulnerability. So if we see, it applies physical status or vulnerability. Now, the purpose of this combo skill is you want to apply the crystal to the enemy, and then you want to use your battle skill on Administrator or your ultimate on Administrator to consume the crystal. You deal massive bonus damage by doing that. How much bonus damage? If I could get the correct menu open. If we go to the combo skill here, you can see crystal shattering damage multiplier 320%. It's a huge multiplier, and you will also note that the damage is increased even further by dealing an extra hit if you consume the crystals with your ultimate. So that's how the administrator is going to fit into this team. The idea is apply loads of vulnerability stacks, use the combo skill to apply the crystal, and then pop the crystal with your ultimate, and then pop the vulnerability stacks with your battle skill. Next, we're going to move on to the gear. So I have her premium weapon here. This costs 99 pence to buy. If you're spending money on the game, and you're using the administrator, absolutely worth it, because you don't just get the weapon, you also get some of the originometry things, and it's like the cheapest way that you can get that many originometry. Anyway, you can also get this weapon from a weapon banner, which I will be touching on in this video. You want this not just because it has agility boost and attack boost, but because it has infliction, long time wish. So it gives arts intensity plus 48. I'll be talking about that in a moment. And it also has, when the wielder applies Originium crystals or solidification during the next battle skill or ultimate cast within 20 seconds, the wielder gains physical damage dealt plus 57.6%. So again, another multiplier to her damage. Now, note that this is only when the wielder applies the Originium crystals, not when they pop them, which means she gets this buff before she consumes the crystal. So her ultimate and her battle skill are both buffed by this, and the buff only expires after the 20 seconds. So you will consume the buff upon using it, but you have 20 seconds before the buff expires to use your ultimate or your battle skill. So you do not have to use it immediately. That's not going to come up in this video because the combo rotation is not going to be that complicated. Just bear that in mind if you are wanting to make super complicated combos with this character. You can do the solidification, the Originium crystals do work that way. So yeah, this is the weapon that you want. Alternative weapons. There are alternative weapons. How can I say this? I will not be going over them in this video. This weapon for the administrator is the best weapon. Yes, you can run Sundering Steel. You could probably run the other, I've forgotten what it's called, the other 6-star premium weapon that Chen, that's the best in slot for Chen. I can't remember what it is now. Yeah, you could run that one. I'm not going to cover those. This is the best weapon, and it's by a substantial margin. If you do want to know what that's called, it's over here in the Arsenal Exchange under this banner here. This one, it is the Rapid Ascent. Battle skills and ultimates gain physical damage plus 42%. Against staggered enemies, battle skills and ultimates also gain damage dealt plus 98%. This is a good weapon. It's better on Chen, and you're going to be using Chen in this team anyway. So, yeah, you want Grand Vision. So now we're going to talk about the gear set. Now, the gear set I have is the EtherTech. So I have the EtherTech gloves and the 2 EtherTech kits, and then I have the MI security armor. This is interchangeable with the Swordmancer heavy armor. It provides exactly the same stats. So I just had one of these. So yeah, that is interchangeable. Now the reason we're going for this is because it provides arts intensity. Now, the choice of gear here is either the EtherTech, in my opinion, is either the EtherTech gear or the Swordmancer gear. The reason I've gone for the EtherTech gear is because the arts intensity is so much higher, and the damage bonus you get because you're using her to consume vulnerability stacks is massive. It's less about the passive effect. After the wearer applies vulnerability, the wearer gains physical damage plus 8%. So it's less about that, and it's more about the arts intensity. what does Arts Intensity do? I'm glad you asked. So, Arts Intensity. I'm going to go over this in the Administrator, and it will apply to another character on this team later on as well. So you can check at what does Arts Intensity do by going into Attributes here, and you scroll down, click on Arts Intensity. You'll see mine's at 215%, which is a little bit overkill, but you will see there, when triggered, Crush, deal damage plus 215%. So basically this applies a massive whack-off multiplier when you consume vulnerability stacks. It does it doesn't. So there are certain things that don't apply to the buff. Just know that the Arts Burst, or whatever you want to call it, when you trigger Crush, dealing plus 215% damage, it's not quite 215% damage, it is slightly less than that, but it's still a massive damage boost, and it's more than what you can get for something like the Bone Crusher set, for example, which gives damage when staggered. So yeah, that's why I run the Aethertech set on her. It's just the amount of damage that you get from consuming the Crush is unbelievable. So that is the Administrator. I guess I can talk about skills. I've mastered the battle skill to M2 and the ultimate to M1. It's not needed. You know, you just level them all up to level 9. So we're going to move on to Chen next. So Chen is incredible. She's an incredible unit. She's 5-star. She's a 5-star unit, but she's absolutely amazing. You get her for free as well. So Enmin and Chen you get for free. Chen is replaceable on the team, but Chen is replaceable on the team by one character and one character only. I will discuss that later on in the video. So for Chen, the purpose of using Chen is to apply vulnerability stacks. You do this with your battle skill, which simply applies a vulnerability stack, and you do this with her combo trigger. Her combo trigger is amazing because whenever it triggers whenever you apply a vulnerability stack. Doesn't matter who it is, if it's her, if it's Li Feng, if it's for some reason the Administrator, Pogranichnik, or any other character. When any character applies a vulnerability stack, her combo triggers and it applies another vulnerability stack. So she is incredible for applying vulnerability stacks. She's also quite easy to get at P5. Getting her at P5 is relevant because it reduces the cooldown of her combo skill by 15%. So more vulnerability stacks. Then her ultimate. Now this is where Chen is very special in the team. She doesn't just apply vulnerability stacks. She has a ridiculous ultimate considering what she is. I have M1'd this ultimate because in my view it's worth it, but look at that final strike damage multiplier, 875%. That is massive. But then you look at also the slash multiplier, which is 69%, which is very nice. It does 7 slashes, so it does 6 slashes at 69%, and then the final strike at 875%. It's a massive multiplier. It's like 1300% multiplier, there or thereabouts. What this also does is 35 stagger damage, 15%, 15 for the first hit, and then 20 for the final hit. That's very important. Chen does a lot of stagger damage, and she also does a lot of huge burst damage, which you will see. Now I am going to talk here about Chen's passives because these passives are relevant. I didn't talk about the Administrator's passives, but I am going to talk about Chen's passives because this is important. After hitting an enemy with skills, Chen gains attack plus 8% for 10 seconds, and this effect can reach 5 stacks. And then you also have Mentor Breaker. Interrupting the enemy's charge adds another 10 stagger. So she's a stagger machine. Whenever you see the red circle, if you're going to interrupt it with Chen. She'll deal another 10 stagger. And then this, you spam her skill just before you ult, trust me, it is worth it. If you burn all 3 points of your SP, bear in mind you will get, not only will you get the 24% attack increase, you will also apply 4 stacks of vulnerability because you will use a combo trigger. So just bear that in mind. So now onto her weapon. I have Sundering Steel because I'm poor and I'm not spending on the game, aside from the battle pass, the monthly pass, and the premium administrator weapon. So 15 quid. I'm not spending any more money. So I have the Sundering Steel. Her best weapon, to be very clear, is not the Sundering Steel. Her best weapon is the weapon that I showed you earlier, which you can get in the Arsenal Exchange over here. Rapid Ascent. This one is by far the best. It gives you main attribute, critical rate boost, and Twilight Zero Clouds. So her battle skills and ultimates gain physical damage, and against staggered enemies, her battle skills and ultimates also gain a ridiculous damage modifier. That's her best weapon. If you've got that, use it. If you've not got that, use Sundering Steel. You can also use Aspirant on her. It's not as good as Sundering Steel, but if you have Aspirant instead, use Aspirant. The purpose of this weapon is when the wielder deals a physical status, the wielder gains attack plus 12% for 20 seconds, max stacks for the effect of the same name. 2. You can have 100% uptime on this with both stacks, so you can have a total of 24% attack at all times on this. It's very easy for her to keep that buff. So yeah, that's why we use the Sundering Steel. Finally then onto her armor. So I have the Swordmancer armor here because it gives stagger efficiency bonus plus 20%, and after the wielder applies a physical status, the wearer also performs 1 hit that deals 250% attack of physical damage and 10 stagger. It has a cooldown of 15 seconds, unfortunately. This is really great for her because obviously you get the absolutely ridiculous stagger modifier. So she does 12 stagger because you get plus 20% stagger efficiency bonus every time she applies a physical status, and then on top of the normal stagger that she gets. I'm using this specific combo because you get Arts Intensity from the gear. Arts Intensity makes the vulnerability stacks do more. Yes. No. So perhaps this piece could be replaced in the future. Perhaps I could modify this setup very slightly, but this is what I've got at the minute. The gloves give ultimate damage bonus, which is really good for Chen. This gives physical damage bonus plus 23%, and this gives damage bonus versus staggered plus 41.4%. This is a staggered team, so you're going to be using Chen's ultimate on staggered enemies more often than not. That's why I have the damage bonus versus staggered as part of this setup. Next, we're spoiling the surprise already. But next is Pogranicznik. Pogranicznik is an amazing character. He's one of the best characters in the game, if not the best character in the game. His role is to be an SP battery and to apply the breach status, which increases the amount of physical damage that an enemy takes. So let's look at his skills, how he does that. His battle skill, then. This is what applies this is what applies the breach and makes the vulnerability. So the way this works is, if the enemy has no vulnerability stacks, he will give the enemy 1 vulnerability stack. If the enemy has vulnerability stacks, he will consume those stacks, much like how the administrator consumes them, and he will recover SP, do more damage based on how many vulnerability stacks he consumes, and he will apply a physical vulnerability, which is a separate debuff to a vulnerability stack. Let's have a look at what that looks like in here so that we can sort of look at that we can look at that a bit more. So you'll note here, it shows you how much the damage increases by, and more importantly, how much SP you get. So if you consume 4 vulnerability stacks, you will recover 30 SP, and then it goes down 20, 10, 5, etc. This is very relevant. You are not going to be spamming the battle skill. However, you will be using the battle skill. Not necessarily for the SP generation, though it's nice because it recycles your SP. You're going to be using the battle skill because of some super secret tech that we've got coming. Just know there is damage. There is a vulnerability stack. We do have the stats for vulnerability stacks. If you consume 1 stack, the debuff is 12%. If you consume 2, it's 16. If you consume 3, it's 20. And if you consume 4 stacks, it's 24%. So if you consume 4 stacks of vulnerability with his battle skill, all physical damage will be increased by 24% for the next, I think it's 20 seconds or 30 seconds. I think it's 30 seconds. An amazing debuff. This is why he is part of the team. His combo skill is next. Whenever you consume vulnerability stacks with Crush or Breach, so with the Administrator or himself, it triggers the combo slash. It does a lot of damage, and it also increases your SP gain. So not only are you gaining SP from his battle skill, the most important thing is you're gaining SP without spending SP, because his combo skill gives you SP back. This combines extremely well with the Administrator's passive, which, if I can remember where it is, just bear with me a second. Aha! This combines extremely well with consuming Iridium crystals returns 50 SP. So if you think you consume the crystal for 50 SP, you consume 4 vulnerability stacks, and then Pogranicznik's combo skill triggers, and you regain, there it is, 13 SP. So you get 63 SP back for spending 100 SP, and you do insane damage. This is amazing. Pogranicznik is really good. In fact, sorry, I can't read. It's not 13 SP. It's 23 SP. So it's even better. It's insane. So you are spending 27 SP to do, as you'll see later, around 200k damage. It's unbelievable. And then finally, his ultimate. This is the most satisfying thing in the whole game. You use your ultimate. You whenever then a character inflicts a physical status, or whenever Pogranicznik uses his combo skill, these big shield guys smack the enemy, you gain SP, and they take damage. This is really good because this allows you to gain a shit ton of SP, and then you can maintain the SP gain buffs that you get from the other parts of Pogranicznik's kit, because when he uses his ultimate, you gain the SP so consistently, you get really good uptime on his buffs. So what are his buffs? So firstly, when you recover 80 SP, you give fervent morale, and this can apply to your team when you pop the ultimate. So you just gain attack when you recover SP. Yeah, there you go. Any operator triggering the ultimate's subsequent effects also gains fervent morale. So this gives attack for SP gain. Don't worry too much about the stacks. You're not going to really stack it that high unless you've got him potential 5. Just know it just gives you attack for regaining SP. What also gives him attack for regaining SP is his weapon. Never Rest, which I've shown on the banner. Now, you can use Never Rest. You can also use the free weapon that we were able to get, which is Thermite Cutter. It does the same thing, just not as well. That's basically all you need to know. So, Never Rest gives the ability, after the wielder's skill recovers SP, the wielder gains physical damage plus 7%, while the other operators in the team gain physical damage plus 3.5% for 30 seconds, mind. And this can stack 5 times. If you use his ultimate, if you use the full SP, if you trigger everything in his ultimate and his combo skill, you will give the team 5 stacks, which is 17.5% physical damage increase. This is insane. Bearing in mind you also give them Fervent Morale from his passive. That's an attack increase. And now we move on to the secret tech. The secret tech is the Frontier set. Now this set does not increase his stats. You will notice that his intellect is plus 122, and he has no will gain, and Pogranichnik scales from will as his primary stat and agility as his secondary stat. The reason you're using this set is because of the 3-piece combo set. It applies the wearer's combo skill is reduced, the cooldown is reduced by 15%. We want his combo skill all the time because it gives us SP, which gives us the buff, and also after the wearer's skill recovers SP, the team gains damage plus 16%. That is a all damage plus 16%. This is amazing. This is absolutely incredible. So I have these 3 pieces. This gives secondary attribute, this gives battle skill damage bonus, and this gives secondary attribute. Then I have the Aethertech stabilizer as my flex option. You can swap this for a few things. Some people have the Lynx gloves because that gives ultimate efficiency. I prefer this because it gives arts intensity plus 41. Now if we look at what arts intensity does again, sorry I keep going out of this menu. If we look at what arts intensity does again, here we go. When triggered breach, they gain so you deal damage plus 41%, that's not why we're using it, and gain effect enhancement plus 24%. So if you remember, if we consume 4 stacks of vulnerability with Pogranichnik's battle skill, we give a 24% breach debuff. That effect is then enhanced by a further 24%. So that's 24% plus 24% is 4.8-ish, so it's nearly 5. So it increases it to around about 29.8%, just short of 30% damage buff. That's to the entire team. No other piece of gear will give that much damage bonus. There is no piece of gear that will give that much damage bonus. A single piece of gear that will give that much damage bonus. Obviously you can have the utility of the ultimate gain, and if you want that, then you would swap the kit. You would swap this kit for another Frontier's tube, and then you would put the gloves. You would put where is it? Either the Eternal Shiranite gloves or the Lynx gloves. You would use one of those. Okay, so that's Pogranichnik, and then finally we have Li Feng. So let's go on to Li Feng. So Li Feng is a very important member of this team, simply because the amount of damage that the Link buff gives is not to be scoffed at, and is a very important part of this team's damage, to the point where Akakuri is usable solely for the fact that she gives a Link buff. So, Li Feng, what do you do? So, his battle skill will apply a vulnerability stack, and and if the enemy does not have a vulnerability stack, should I say, it will apply a vulnerability stack. This is really good. You use this to start your combo off, and it just gives a vulnerability stack. Next is combo trigger. When the controlled operator performs a final strike at an enemy with either physical susceptibility or breach, bearing in mind Pogranicznik gives physical susceptibility and bearing in mind everybody on this team gives breach. That's when his combo skill triggers, which unleashes an aspect that performs a spear thrust to deal physical damage and grant link. This is really important. Grant link. Link is a damage buff that that is consumed when you use a battle skill or an ultimate. It does a 30% damage increase to the battle skill or a 20% damage increase to the ultimate. You use this and it makes your burst go insane. Sorry about that. So then, finally, we move on to his ultimate, which deals physical damage. So, this deals knockdown, and then deals another knockdown. What that means in English is it applies 2 vulnerability stacks if both parts of the ultimate hit. That is insane. You are applying 2 vulnerability stacks with 1 ability, and it doesn't cost any SP. Also, if the skill consumes Link, it deals additional massive physical damage. So you get a bigger buff if Li Feng consumes his own Link buff. We want to look at what that looks like. You go over here to his ability, and so normally his ultimate deals 2 hits of 320% each, so 640% multiplier. And then if you consume the Link buff, it does an additional hit of 480%. So that's 1100%. So it is a big multiplier. If you're going to use the Link buff on Li Feng, you can. Personally, I don't recommend it because at the minute it is much easier to have one character maxed on DPS. If you have your Li Feng maxed on DPS, then sure, use the Link buff on his ultimate. But if your team looks a little bit more like mine, where you have your administrator fully maxed, and then your Li Feng doesn't have his best weapon, only has his second best weapon, and doesn't have like much essence on his weapon, then you want to be consuming the Link buff with the administrator instead of Li Feng. So those are his skills. You basically start off every combo with his battle skill, and then you use his ultimate to apply more stacks of vulnerability. Now, I talked about his weapon briefly. I have the Valiant, so the Valiant is great. This team is really easy to build. If we look at the acquisition center, this is how you get it. You go to the Arsenal Exchange, and look at that, you can just buy it. 2,480 points. Yes, it's expensive, but you can just buy it. Alternatively, if you look on this banner, which, as you will note, has Never Rest, which is Pogranicznik's best weapon, Grand Vision, which is the Administrator's best weapon, and Rapid Ascent, which is Chen's best weapon, it also has Valiant on it. This is why I have done 4 pulls on this banner, because I was pulling for Never Rest and any supplementary 6 stars. So there are 3 supplementary 6 stars. 3 out of 6 of the supplementary 6 stars are good. So on this banner, 4 of 7 6 stars you want on your team, and 3 of 7 are best in slot, and Valiant is second best. So that's how you get Valiant. If you want Mountain Breaker, which is his best, Rising Mount, which is his, Mountain Bearer, which is his best weapon, this is where it is. This is his best weapon because it just gives him an absolute fuck ton of damage against vulnerable enemies, and when he applies physical susceptibility with his battle skill, you gain all attributes plus 22.4%. His passive means that his will and intellect count towards his attack. So yeah, you can get this weapon. If you're a whale, then by all means just pull on that. But personally, I would either buy the Valiant in the store here, or do what I did and pull on this banner to balance to hedge your bets, basically. So let's go back to Li Feng. So Valiant is just it's a good weapon. It's not great. You'll see at the bottom there, it gives him after the wielder applies physical statuses. The wielder also deals another hit of physical damage equal to 140% of the wielder's attack. If there were any other polearm weapons that were any good at all, this would not be the second best weapon. There are not very good polearm weapons at the minute in the game, apart from his best in slot. It's not great. This will get replaced, but this is what we have at the minute. If you don't have this and you don't want to buy it from the store, the alternative is actually still really good. It just means that you won't do any damage with Li Feng. It will mean that he is an entirely support character, and if you're also running if you're running PogChamp as a support DPS as well, and you've not fully kitted him out with max damage potential, you're going to struggle on your damage. But this one is really good because you'll note it has ultimate gain efficiency, and it does give him attack boost if the wielder applies vulnerability when there are no vulnerability stacks, which of course you're going to be doing constantly throughout his combo. So this gives ultimate gain efficiency. This is actually surprisingly good. The main issue with this is it gives strength boost. Strength is his secondary attribute. You are losing a lot of damage when you give him this weapon. This Chimeric Justice is definitely not better than Valiant. Maybe you can find like a really niche scenario where you can get 3 ultimates instead of 2, or 2 ultimates instead of 1 because you're using Chimeric Justice, and that gives you an overall damage increase. I doubt it. I'll say this now, being an experienced user of this team, I highly doubt that you will that this will do more damage than Valiant. So now we're going to move on to his gear. Once again, I have the Swordmancer gear equipped. This has Arts Intensity. You will note that I've got Arts Intensity on there to buff the effect of the vulnerability, and then I have the this Swordmancer Flint, which gives physical damage bonus. This is the same concept as Chen. I haven't min-maxed this. Bear in mind that I am still, like, Li Feng is sort of like still a support DPS, not as much as support as Pogranichnik, but he is still a support DPS. I don't think this is the maximum amount of damage that you can get out of Li Feng. However, the utility it gives, and it does give a lot of damage, is insane because, as you can see, it gives the stagger efficiency bonus, and that's really what we want. We want to be staggering the enemy, so that we can just unload our damage into them. So that's the team. So now I'm going to talk. I realise that this video has gone on for a while. I did say this was going to be an in-depth and advanced guide. I'm going to talk now about the replacements. So the replacements are as follows. PogChamp, he is only, and I repeat, only replaceable with Akakuri. If you do not want to pull him, then your only other option is Akakuri. She is another SP battery. You give her the Frontier set in the same way that you give Pog the Frontier set, and you use her link buff in conjunction with Li Feng and either Chen or the Administrator. Her link buff then becomes flexible because you can use it on basically anybody, and it allows Li Feng's link buff to also be flexible. He can use his own link buff for his own ultimate, or vice versa. You are not replacing Pog with anybody else. You are either using Pog or you're using Akakuri. Okay? Next replacement option. Li Feng. The only character that you are replacing Li Feng with is Akakuri. Trust me on this one. The amount of... You are never using her battle skill, ever. And the amount of damage and SP that you will gain from her ultimate and her link buff is incredible. So you want to be using Akakuri for the if I can get my words out, for the SP gain and the link buff. I'm sure it's the link buff. Yeah, here you go. So her P5 talent stay in the zone. Even when the ultimate squad on me ends, the link buff persists for 5 seconds. So you don't need a P5, but she does have a link buff. It works the same way as Li Feng's. Trust me, she doesn't apply vulnerability. Doesn't matter. She gives you more SP, which means that you can spam Chen's ability more, and that's what matters. The final option to replace is Chen. You're not replacing Chen with Akakuri because she is your vulnerability stacker. You're gonna love this. You replace Chen with Ember, and I shit you not, that is the only replacement, viable replacement for Chen, is Ember. Ember is actually an incredible character, and you just changed the playstyle very slightly. You control Ember, and you completely ignore this recommended build here. You do not run this set. Instead, you don't run this set. Do not run it, and don't run this weapon either. The weapon that you run on her is, if I can find it in the acquisition center, is, where are we? I know it's here somewhere. I think it's on this banner actually. Yeah, it's on this banner. The Sundered Prince. Now, this is one of the weapons that you could have picked instead of picking the 6-star weapon for Arknights. You could have picked Sundered Prince. Sundered Prince gives Strength Boost, her main stat, Critical Damage Boost, Large, and Crusher, Princely Deterrence. When the wielder performs a final strike on the enemy, the wielder gains attack plus 28% for 8 seconds. If the wielder is also the controlled operator, double the attack increase and buff the final strike, so it deals 33.6% stagger. This turns her into a stagger machine. It gives her 33% more stagger at max, so you're not going to have it maxed, you're going to have it what, rank 4, so what's that, 16%? Yeah, 18%. So if we go back to if we go back to Ember, sorry, I have to do it this way because I don't actually have her. So if we go back to Ember and we look at her basic attack, her final strike deals 25 stagger. You're dealing anywhere between 27 and 29 stagger every final strike with her basic attack. Just to compare that to Li Feng, who is like quite a high, he does 19. It is a sizable difference. Arknights is 18 stagger. It is a sizable difference. She is a stagger machine. She applies vulnerability with her battle skill, and also deals extra damage. Extra stagger if you use her battle skill when she's about to be attacked. And her combo triggers whenever the controlled operator is attacked, and her combo skill applies vulnerability stacks. So she doesn't quite apply as many vulnerability stacks as Chen does, because her cooldown on her combo skill is longer, but she almost applies as many vulnerability stacks as Chen does, and that's incredible. And the amount of stagger that she applies is insane. The only problem with playing Ember is you have to control Ember, and you have to use her as the controlled operator, and it is also a heavy investment because really you need to be prioritizing her basic attack because a lot of her damage comes from her basic attack. So that's the team. That's the that's how to play it. That's the tech. Notice Pog's tech. I personally think that at the minute this is the best build for Pog. The damage build could be better, where you would give him, like you would give him the Bone Crusher Poncho, and then you give him the Ying Lung. Yeah, the Ying Lung gloves. The damage build could be better, but because I don't have his weapon maxed, him maxed, and all of the artifice, all his gear artificed, this is better for now. Yeah, so that's the team. How do you play the team? I'm not going to go into too much of the combo depth. You should, like I said, this video is going to assume that you have an understanding anyway. But basically, you open with Li Feng. You then use Li Feng's battle skill into a final hit from your basic combo. Then you use Chen's battle skill. Then you use the Chen's combo skill, Li Feng's combo skill, the Administrator's combo skill, well, you use Pog's ultimate before all of that. Then you use the combo skills. Then you use Administrator's combo skill. Then you use Administrator's ultimate. Then you use Administrator's battle skill. That's like your opening combo. There are variations of that. There are optimizations of that. But that's the basics of the basics. Is you always start your opener with Li Feng, and then you use the combo skills as and when you need them to either build vulnerability stacks or to consume the vulnerability stacks at the correct time. There's a lot of discourse about rotations in this game. I will say now, bosses do not have enough health and do not stand still for long enough to have a rotation. What do I mean by that? So take Rodan for an example. You kill Rodan with this team. You can kill Rodan in less than 59 seconds with this team. That is not... And you use two different rotations. So your first rotation you use to stagger him as quickly as possible and to get him into his second phase as quickly as possible. And then your second rotation is different because then you use your second rotation to stagger him and then kill him in his stagger. So there isn't a rotation for that. And then you look at the bosses that have more health. The second boss in the game, which is Triagalos, it has 3 phases. It's all over the place. Like, it doesn't have enough health. Its health bar is split into 3 separate health bars. It doesn't stand still long enough for you to do a rotation because you're not even like halfway through your rotation and the thing is dead, like, and it's moved on to the next phase. And then it's the same with the Marble Aglamorai. You've got the 4 tentacles to kill, then you have the core to kill. Each tentacle has hardly any health, so you're not having a rotation on that. You're just killing it as quickly as possible. And then the Marble Aglamorai doesn't have a rotation because you kill it in one stagger. And then when the Marble Aglamorai comes out of the stagger, you are again in the same situation you are with Rodan, where you want to stagger the Marble Aglamorai, not as fast as possible, as optimally as possible, so that then you have done as much damage as you can, and you enter the stagger window with all of your buffs and debuffs active to then kill it in the stagger window. Each of those scenarios that I have described, Phase 1 and Phase 2 of Rodan, that's 2. Phase 1, Phase 2, Phase 3 of Triagalos, that's 5. Tentacle 1, 2, 3, 4, Core, Phase 1, Phase 2, that's 11. There are 11 different rotations just in these 3 bosses alone. So when I say there is no rotation for this team, that's what I mean. And when I say that the basic rotation is start with Li Feng, and then chain your chain into a final hit, and then chain your battle skill, sorry, combo skill, combo skill, combo skill, and go from there. So yeah, there are some resources that you should definitely check out if you've made it this far in the video. So on YouTube, if you want to know how damage works and how the arts intensity works, Goberfield on YouTube has a really good video on that. It's the best guide to elements and damage in Arknights Endfield. There's a section on arts intensity. Definitely look at that. And then if you want to know what the capability of a similar team to this, instead of Li Feng it runs Akakuri, then Yumi, Y-U-M-I, Yumi on YouTube. Enmin is incredible. Physical team versus Recrisis Radan. They kill Radan in 59 seconds. It is not an optimal rotation, and let me tell you, my gear is better than that person's gear. So yeah, this team is cracked. It is the best team in the game. And yeah, I hope you've enjoyed my overly in-depth guide, which is now 51 minutes long. Jesus Christ. Right, enjoy.